thank you for everyone for coming to listen today. And the APEC economies took on this initiative because corruption is one of the most onerous market access barriers that a company can face. World Bank analysis tells us that $1 trillion is lost every single year to corruption. And the cost to an SME is over 25% of their working capital. So for a small, medium-sized firm, that 25% means increasing market capability, increasing production, training for their workers. It can mean a huge difference between being competitive in other markets, even being able to expand into other markets. And this is why, actually, Hafsa Hashim approached me when we first did an educational workshop and said, can we work with you on this? Because it was also very important to Malaysia.
Yeah, I think it's very well said that in terms of amount of money lost to corruption, $1 trillion according to World Bank, and you equate that to an SME, 25% of it is actually 250 billion US dollars. If only that amount of fund can be pulled through to research and development, for example, to ramp up innovation among SMEs, and to be able to bring down the cost of doing business across nations, across regions, you will see typically small businesses being made more competitive and they'll be able to take on the world market. So that was the intention of doing it. There's more clarity, more transparency in doing business, more understanding in becoming suppliers to large companies in this case. And why are the three subsectors were chosen? That is medical devices, biopharmaceutical, construction and engineering. Primarily the fact that these are the sectors that we thought that touch a human life. These are the sectors that look into the human safety issues that we wanted to address. We didn't go into textile and apparel yet. We didn't go to other sectors yet. We want to go into sectors that would typically be able to ramp up the economy of any nation, to be able to look into healthcare services and make it more efficient, and make more small businesses more efficient. We wanted to look into issues that we're able to dwell onto safety. So that was how we started this journey 3 years ago.
Okay, how this the MACC, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission in Malaysia, get into this initiative? We all know that bribery and corruption cause prices to escalate. And then these prices will be transferred into the products as well as the services. And at the end of the day, the consumer have to pay for the extra cost. And of course, as also we know that corruption has bad effect on the social, the economic, the political aspect of the nation. And being law enforcement agency, we know that there is limitation in enforcing the law, right? So that's why we need another form of tools, instrument to fight bribery and corruption. That's why we come up with these codes that can be implemented within the companies or the organization.
Perhaps any press would like to ask any questions?
Ms. Lei Costa, Lu
Yes.
of Sinjubilee. Can you say this is a full program and you train how many trainers and what are in the future what are going to the trainer do? They go back to different industry to train their officers.
There were approximately 125 that were here from 24 different APEC and ASEAN economies, and they will go back and implement in many instances, industry association, or a U.S. chamber of commerce, ethics compliance training. That is one of the agreements that they made with the APEC Secretariat and the Overseer, me, in order to be able to participate in this week-long training. And they will go back and do ethics compliance training for their companies. There were some representatives from governments here as well, and they will go back and inform their governments of the work that was been going on and the types of activities, tools, and trends that are occurring throughout the world on ethics compliance. So it will geometrically raise awareness across the APEC ASEAN trade region, and there will also be very specific training that they will implement back at home.
Any other questions?
I would say, I would say that these trainers that we have trained are the change agents when they go back home. They are the ones that's going to go down and train many more in their respective countries, and to be able to see that this culture that we're trying to adopt to avoid corruption is being put in place at their respective countries. So that's what we wanted to do. That's why this special program is called Training of the Trainers.
Maybe gentlemen from NST?
Can you give us some example of this code of ethics?
Chris?
Sure. My name is Chris White. I'm the General Counsel of the Advanced Medical Technology Association, representing the manufacturers of medical technology, the types of products that enhance patient life and extend patient lives. The overwhelming majority of the companies in our space are small companies, and for that reason it was very important that we partner with Dr. Hafsa at the outset of this work to develop a code of ethics that spoke to the needs of small companies, of small innovators. And we were also very pleased with the Prime Minister's comments supporting the needs of the small companies and recognizing the value that the small companies bring to the macroeconomic environment and to global trade overall. A code of ethics is critical to our industry because it promotes patient confidence in the product selection, and the collaborations that run between the manufacturers of medical devices and physicians can be very close. The physicians are both those who use the medical devices, but also the customers. And for that reason, we need to be transparent and clear on the nature of those relationships so that there can be no uncertainty that when a patient is prescribed a product or when a product is used within a patient, that is for that patient's best interest. So our code of ethics addresses the propriety of consulting arrangements, for example, of charitable contributions, of royalty payments, of providing samples. Those are types of provisions that we included within the Kuala Lumpur principles and within the codes of ethics that we're building around the region. And all of these will build patient confidence and also ensure a level playing field and a common trade environment across the region.
I have a question on behalf of the media. Where can they access the Kuala Lumpur Code of Ethics? Can they read through? Is there any website you can share with them?
Yes, we've actually created a special website for this event, for this training, and it represents the world's largest collection of compliance tools and resources for the medical devices sector. It starts with the Kuala Lumpur principles and has a series of tools that help explain how to implement the Kuala Lumpur principles. And I'd be happy to provide the website to the media and to anyone here. This is a website that will remain live in perpetuity, and we have committed through our training this week to maintain that website as a go-to place for all the resources that new compliance leaders will need as they train in their individual economies.
She's got a question.
Yes, hi, sorry, I'm listening from Transparency Review. Do you have a plan to follow up on the workshop attendees? Like, to follow up on their progress and how they're doing afterwards? Is there a plan that's been set?
There has been, since the beginning of this work, public-private partnership teams, and that every 3 months we have done surveys when the codes were drafted, so that in the healthcare sector, the construction sector is very unique, but in the healthcare sector anyway, so that we tracked the progress, and the trainers, mentors stayed with certain economies and provided support to them throughout the process. Here this week, after the training is completed, those mentors or trainers will also stay in communication with the economies they've been associated with, and the mentoring and monitoring team will also be in place still. They will continue to be asked a series of survey questions about, they're expected to implement at least 2 training programs the first year after KL, and they will be asked questions like, how many participants did you have, what types of companies, what size of companies, and that is a requirement by APEC that we do monitoring and reporting, which we're happy to do because it also helps us inform our progress and where we need to take this work next.
Thank you. You mentioned about 1 trillion US in terms of corruption cost, right?
Yes.
Is there any studies that show that the implementation of business ethics, how much in terms of percentage of cost saving that can reduce that 1 trillion?
That's not it. You cannot look into the crystal ball.
Any indication that once this is implemented, how?
Well, I think you can compare. I don't really know exactly how to answer that because it's of course the World Bank did the 1 trillion as an estimate. I mean that's what they actually knew. It could be far greater than that because so much of it is done behind closed doors or in a dark room or out of the sunlight. To know how much it would be reduced, well, I guess one can assume that if everyone stopped offering and taking bribes, all 100% of that $1 trillion would be returned to economies.
But that would be quite realistic, right?
Pardon?
But that would be quite realistic.
That would be unrealistic.
Yeah, unrealistic.
Well, of course, maybe that is unrealistic, but even if it was less than 1%, that would be great. I mean, I think I learned this from, I know I learned this from Dato Satina, that, people will say, well, corruption is just part of our culture. Well, culture is created by people, so culture is changed by people as well. And that is what we're trying to do. There's no reason why we can't, at a fairly quick pace, change how people feel about corruption, change cultures so that they know that, they're harming other people and essentially cheating other people of public goods and services when they behave in this manner. And it's both the private and public sector together that is required. It's not just one side of the equation, it's both sides. And that's why we have tried to develop a public-private partnership so that our companies are fully aware of the value of ethics compliance, but then government officials also realize they have a job as well to do in this fight against corruption.
Sorry, my question to Dato CEO. In the PM speech mentioned about the AG is drafting the corporate liability legal provisions. We understand that there will be an SME Corporation Act. So is that meaning that in both parliament, the government have to favor a new bill to go to amendment of your act or something?
I think, let me answer that. Okay. This is on anti-corruption initiative, all right? As you know that our current law in the country only punish individuals, okay? So if someone involved in bribery and corruption, so if found to be guilty, then he will be punished for that. But there is no provision to punish corporation. So that's why the way forward now is to insert a new provision that will allow the court to also punish corporation if they were to found involved in bribery and corruption. Because sometimes the employee has to act on behalf of on the instruction of the maybe board of director from the top management to bribe government official to get contract. So they are equally, liable for that. So that's why we propose to the government to insert this provision in the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act.
When do you expect to?
Well, at the moment the AG is still studying it, so it's up to AG, right? So of course we hope that the insertion will be done fast, but it's up to AG and the Parliament.
How long have this been
Since last year, we proposed since last year.
end of the
I think so, because I'm not involved in that. Yeah, last year, yeah, okay.
How many acts will be involved in this amendment?
Just one act. The
MSC.
current, we're going. Yeah, if AG agrees to that, then the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act will be amended.
Okay, maybe one last question. Let's not lose a chance to get from the representative of construction engineering or the medical biopharmaceutical sector. Last question.
What form of punishment will be meted to the companies, corporations?
The one that we propose is a fine. I mean, we can jail companies. We can jail individuals. So the proposal is on fine. It's just like what happened to Siemens, if you read, Alstom and also Alcatel-Lucent. The companies were fined because they were found involved in bribery.
Well, I guess this is a result of non-compliance of code of ethics. So I guess it is relevant to this workshop. I guess it does sums up for today's media conference. I guess no more questions, and I shall close the press conference. Thank you very much for coming.